Welcome to Northern Michigan Update. I'm State Senator Jason Allen, and today we have Dr. Bill Anderson. It's nice to have you with us today, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Bill heads up the History, Arts, and Libraries, which is the cultural and creates a lot of background and helps with our state on a variety of different things. So it's welcome. You go from the purview of the Mackinac Island Commission to libraries.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the department and how that's organized and what you're doing.
Okay. Well, our department is now almost 7 years old.
Wow.
And we're made up of 4 agencies. I'll start with the 2 that you mentioned. Mackinac Island State Parks, which includes 80% of Mackinac Island. And we have a big responsibility there because we operate the airport.
Really?
Yep. And the governor's executive home is in Mackinac Island State Park. We have all the way down to something you would expect a city to do. We're responsible for getting all of the debris, I'll call it, off the island.
So from airplanes to sort of trash hauling?
And the horse manure.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, all of that.
Wow.
We move that off the island.
Wow.
And then we have we just do a lot of things that are almost municipal in that regard. And of course there are great historical sites on the island, some of the most treasured and oldest preserved buildings in, well, I think all of them are basically on the island. Then we have Fort Michilimackinac, which is at Mackinac City, and then Historic Mill Creek at Sheboygan. That makes up that agency within our department. Then coming back to Lansing and to the State Library, that's the second agency, and some people might think that it's just a library, but it's a whole lot more than that, because all modern contemporary libraries are all about having access to information. And so we really emphasize electronic access in what we call MEL, or Michigan E-Library. And we buy all of the databases and all of the other material with federal funds. And that means that every public library, every college library, every university library, every public school library gets all of this material online free because we buy the licensure. That means probably 10,000 ebooks, all kinds of periodicals, all kinds of databases, and so forth. And now we've developed something called MELCAT, CAT meaning catalog, which means that we basically have an electronic union catalog. So all of the libraries that are participating, I think we're up over now 300, and our goal is to bring them all on. And when that happens, there'll be like 35 million items that'll all be in this electronic card catalog that you can search and find out where it is. And then we back it up with the best delivery system we've ever had. We have a contract with a company in Southfield that their main product they move are medications, and they don't take much space. So there's room in the same trucks for some books. And so it was cost effective for them. We were able to reduce the cost of all interlibrary and get a much better system. So we really have a package. And then the third department would be the third agency would be the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs. And its primary role, of course, is it's a granting organization. We have this year about $7 million that we grant. And in the course of the year, there will be grants made in every single county in our state. We do this big grant decision-making process, but then we have what we call re-granters. So in your district at Traverse City, there is a re-granter. And so what we're trying to do is drive that decision down to the local area. Those are smaller grants, but local people know what the needs are and can be sensitive to what those opportunities are. So they all get a chunk of money and then they grant it out. And I would guess by the time it's done, there are about 600 grantees through that really wonderful program. And at the state level, when we make the big grants, we use a peer evaluation process. So let's say it was a symphony orchestra. It wouldn't be a bunch of people who are at museums making the decision because they might not know much about classical music. It'd be all people in that field that would be judging the applications. And conversely, if it was an art gallery, it would be people that run and operate art galleries. So it's really a good system. And they do the evaluation. And much to the credit of state government, I've never had a legislator or a governor call me and put the arm on me and say, you got to give a grant to so-and-so. We work it through this process. We share it. Every one of these meetings are open to the public too, so they can hear the discussion. There's nothing behind closed doors and so forth. So it's really, I think, an exemplary kind of process.
Now let's start out with sort of the background, because the arts and cultural grants, the MCCAA grants, have been so important to northern Michigan, from Sault Ste. Marie to Traverse City all the way over to the Alpena Bozeman area. Now, my understanding is we have a northern Michigan representative. Is it Ms. Biederman? Is that right?
Yes.
That's on Brenda?
Yep.
That's, and she's an appointee of the governor's office.
Yep.
And so we've always had the governor's been very balanced in making sure that we have at least a voice from the rural Michigan perspective to help out.
Yep.
And so the $7 million goes to a process. And so there's the bigger grants.
Right.
And then there's the smaller grants, and so that goes like to the Traverse Arts Council. Do you remember what would be going over in the Sault Ste. Marie or the Sheboygan area? Similar types of groups?
Yeah, but
okay.
I off the top of my head,
okay.
I can't name all of the re-granters,
okay.
but they're all spread out so
okay.
that the whole state is every place in Michigan is a part of one of those regions that get re-granting funds. So everybody is eligible.
Okay.
In all of those cases.
Okay. Now there's sort of the anchor groups, right?
That's
which
right.
would be like the DIA, which is, I took our family down there during the Thanksgiving holiday, and what an amazing facility.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I think for our listeners from up north, they don't really understand what a true jewel and a treasure that is.
Yeah. I want to finish the first
sure.
thing, but I don't want to miss this,
okay.
what you
no
led
problem.
me into.
Right, yes.
Or let's hold that for just
okay.
a second, because I want to
yeah.
go back there, because I'm glad you brought it up. Then the fourth agency is the Michigan Historical Center.
Okay.
And it is multifaceted. Okay. It is the Michigan Museum System.
Okay.
In Lansing, we have one of the finest museums in the whole state of Michigan. Any people in your district that haven't been there are really missing
right.
something. It is a jewel, an absolute jewel. But we also have 10 other museums in the state of Michigan. 3 of them, for instance, are in the Upper Peninsula. Way up in the tip of the Keweenaw Peninsula is Fort Wilkins. Okay. It's an actual military fort from the last century.
Really?
Yep. And many of the buildings are original, so it is just like walking back in time.
Wow.
You know, this isn't Disney World. This is the real McCoy. And then a gem that so many people like is called Fayette, mm-hmm. Which is a mining, foraging town, and most of the buildings are still there. And one of the structures was actually a theater, a little theater in this mining community. Mm-hmm. And you go backstage and you can see where some of the actors wrote their names.
Really?
You know, it just grabs my passion. Whoa. Because I like the performing arts, and it's so cool. And then at Negaunee is the Iron Industry mm-hmm. Museum. So anyway, but we have all that museum system. Okay. That's a part of our department.
Now, there are, on those museums, there's certain commissions that govern that. I know, like, there's an Iron Ore Commission. Yeah. And those are appointees that have oversight. And then, like, as Fayette, does that just come under your department?
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Real quickly, what are the other, you talked about the 3 in the UP, what are the other ones? Mackinac Island?
No, Mackinac Island is not
separate.
A part of that.
Okay.
That's a separate
okay.
jurisdiction
okay.
and separately. Down, let's see if I can take them all off.
Okay.
Down in the southern part of the state would be something called Walker Tavern, mm-hmm. and that's near the Michigan Motor Speedway.
Okay.
And it was a stagecoach stop,
really?
The real thing. And then in that same area, is something called the Man House, and mm-hmm. somewhere along the line, long before I was involved, somebody donated this historic home, mm-hmm. and that's what it is. It's like visiting a historic home. Mm-hmm. Another one the 2 of them are kind of clustered together up on 75, the Lumber Museum mm-hmm. Near mm-hmm. Grayling.
Grayling, yes, and that's an amazing.
Yeah.
We visited that.
Very near there is the CCC
right.
camp.
Yeah.
That's another one. Over on the east side of the state is Sanilac Cliffs,
okay.
which is all about Native American.
Wow.
They're are cliffs with Indians had done artwork. And
wow. Well,